Admiral Krasik stood at the observation deck of the TGS Nightweaver, his four-fingered hands clasped behind his back as he gazed down at the blue marble called Earth. The planet's swirling white clouds and vast oceans seemed deceptively peaceful from up here. His silver scales caught the reflected sunlight, creating a subtle shimmer across his tall, lean frame. Another insignificant world, he muttered to himself, though deep down he knew that wasn't entirely true. The Galactic Council had specifically chosen Earth for detailed surveillance before the planned expansion into this sector. Something about these humans had caught the Council's attention, but what exactly? They were barely past their planetary bounds, their technology was primitive at best, and their social structures were chaotic. Admiral Lieutenant Petra's voice crackled through the ship's communication system. The cloaking systems are fully operational, and we've established our geosynchronous orbit above the target location. Excellent, Krasik responded, his voice carrying the characteristic rasping undertone of his species. Begin deployment of the observation drones. I want eyes on every major population center in this region they call North America. The massive view screen before him flickered to life, splitting into dozens of smaller feeds as the observation drones silently descended through Earth's atmosphere. Each one was no larger than an Earth insect, virtually undetectable to human technology. Sir Petra's voice came again, this time with a note of curiosity. I'm getting some interesting readings from one of our primary target locations. It appears to be some sort of educational facility. Krasik's inner eyelids flickered with interest. Show me. The main screen switched to a view of a sprawling complex of buildings. Young humans moved between them in organized chaos, carrying various devices and materials. But what caught Krasik's attention was the structure at the center of the campus. Magnify that central building, he ordered, leaning forward slightly. The image zoomed in, revealing a dome-shaped structure with strange markings on its surface. Energy readings pulsed from within, nothing military grade, but definitely more advanced than the surrounding architecture. Deploy a focused observation team, Krasik commanded. I want to know everything about that building. Energy signatures, personnel movements, communication patterns, everything. Yes, Admiral Petra acknowledged. Should we maintain our standard observation protocols? Krasik paused, his instincts telling him something was different about this place. No, I want enhanced surveillance on this one. Set up a dedicated monitoring station in the tactical room. I'll oversee this personally. As his crew rushed to comply with his orders, Krasik continued studying the facility. In his 3 centuries of military service, he'd learned to trust his instincts. Something about this place felt important, though he couldn't quite put his claw on why. Sir, one of his analysts called out, "We're picking up some unusual patterns in the energy signatures. They seem to be simulated weapon discharges." Krasik's head snapped around. Weapons? In an educational facility? Not real weapons, Admiral the analyst clarified. The energy patterns suggest some form of simulation technology. A slow smile spread across Krasik's face, revealing rows of metallic-looking teeth. Well, he murmured. Perhaps these humans are more interesting than we thought. Establish the observation post immediately. I want eyes on that simulation facility within the hour. As his crew scurried to execute his orders, Krasik returned his gaze to the blue planet below. For the first time since arriving in this system, he felt a spark of genuine curiosity. These humans were full of surprises, and he intended to uncover every single one of them. 3 standard rotations into their observation mission, Admiral Krasik found himself growing increasingly frustrated with his surveillance team's findings. The mysterious dome-shaped building had turned out to be nothing more than what the humans called a gaming center. Let me understand this correctly, Krasik said, his voice dripping with disdain as he addressed his chief analyst, Officer Wren. We've dedicated our most advanced surveillance equipment to watch children play games. Wren, whose purple-tinted skin darkened slightly under the Admiral's scrutiny, pulled up several holographic displays. Yes, sir, but these aren't just any games. They appear to be highly sophisticated space combat simulators. Toys, Krasik scoffed, waving one hand dismissively. Show me something worth my time, officer, or we'll redirect our resources to a more promising target. Sir, If I may, Ren's fingers danced across the holographic controls, bringing up a new feed. Watch this particular human. The display showed a young female human, perhaps 12 Earth years old by their estimation. Her dark hair was pulled back in what humans called a ponytail, and her face bore an expression of intense concentration. The nameplate on her simulator pod read Amanda Parker. Another child playing pretend Krasik started to say, but something made him stop. The tactical display above the girl's pod showed a scenario he recognized: a classic pincer-class engagement against superior forces. Sir Ren said quietly, "Watch how she handles this." Amanda's fingers flew across the control panel with practiced precision. On her tactical screen, a swarm of simulated enemy ships approached her position. Standard doctrine would call for an immediate retreat in this scenario. Instead, Amanda did something that made Krasik's scales stand on end. She split her forces. "That's suicide," Krasik muttered, but his inner eyelids were now fixed wide open in concentration. The girl sent one group of ships into a nearby asteroid field, using minimal power to avoid detection. The other group engaged the enemy head-on, but something was off about their formation. It took Krasik several moments to realize what he was seeing. "She's not really attacking," he breathed. "Those ships are running a precision sensor ghost pattern. I've only seen that maneuver in advanced military training scenarios." The enemy fleet, controlled by the simulation's artificial intelligence, took the bait. As they moved to engage what they perceived as the main threat, Amanda's hidden ships emerged from the asteroid field. The perfectly timed pincer movement caught the superior force in a devastating crossfire. "Impossible," Krasik whispered as the tactical display lit up with destruction markers. "That's a graduate-level strategic command maneuver. How does she even know this exists?" Ren pulled up additional data. She's been coming here every day after her regular education sessions. According to our records, she's logged over 1,000 hours in the simulator. "Show me her other sessions," Krasik demanded, pulling up his command chair. "All of them." The next 3 hours passed in silence as they watched recording after recording. Amanda Parker, who should have been concerned with whatever trivial matters occupied human children, was instead mastering advanced battle tactics through what her species considered a game. Sir Ren finally spoke up. "There's something else you should see." He highlighted a section of data. "These simulations? They're networked. She's not just playing against the computer. She's competing with, and usually beating, active-duty military personnel who use the system for training." Krasik felt a cold sensation settle in his stomach. Do the humans realize? Do they understand what they've created here? "As far as we can tell, sir, they think it's just an exceptionally well-designed game. The military connection is classified, but the game itself is commercially available to anyone." The Admiral stood abruptly, his tail twitching with agitation. "I want everything we have on Amanda Parker. Family history, educational records, social connections, everything. And I want a complete analysis of this simulator system." "Yes," Admiral Ren acknowledged, already sending out the orders. "Should we maintain our current observation protocols?" Krasik stared at the image of the young human girl, who was now grinning at her victory screen with typical childish delight. In all his years of military service, he'd never seen anything quite like this. "No," he said finally. "Upgrade this to a Priority 1 surveillance operation, and get me a direct line to the High Command. They need to see this." As his crew scrambled to comply, Krasik couldn't shake the unsettling feeling that they'd stumbled onto something far more significant than a simple gaming center. These humans weren't just playing games. They were training warriors, and they didn't even know it. The tactical room aboard the TGS Nightweaver had never been so crowded. Admiral Krasik stood before a massive holographic display, surrounded by his top analysts and strategists. The air hummed with tension as they reviewed the latest data from their observation of Amanda Parker. "Play simulation sequence 47 again," Krasik ordered, his scales reflecting the blue glow of tactical readouts. "Focus on the moment she encounters the Kobach Gambit variant." The holographic display sprang to life, showing Amanda's simulated fleet facing a classic trap formation. What happened next made several of the alien officers shift uncomfortably in their seats. "By the void," Captain Mira whispered, her bioluminescent spots pulsing with excitement. She didn't just counter it, she turned it into an entirely new tactical approach. Krasik nodded grimly. Officer Wren, overlay this with the Battle of Centaurus Prime. A second tactical display appeared alongside Amanda's simulation. The similarities were undeniable. The same basic formation, the same calculated risk-taking, but with one crucial difference. The human child's solution is more efficient, strategic analyst Lark pointed out, his cybernetic eye whirring as it captured every detail. She used 23% fewer ships to achieve the same tactical advantage. Our own fleet commanders would have considered such a minimal force suicide. Because we're trained to think like warriors, Krasik responded, pacing before the displays. But she thinks like a gamer. In her mind, those aren't real ships with real crews. They're resources to be used optimally, without the emotional burden of potential casualties. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Show them the Nexus scenario, Krasik commanded. Wren brought up a new simulation. This one showed Amanda facing off against what appeared to be an unwinnable situation, a massive enemy fleet with superior positioning and firepower. This scenario, Krasik explained, was based on the classified records of the hegemony's assault on Proxima Station, a battle we lost despite our best efforts. The assembled officers watched in stunned silence as Amanda's simulated fleet executed a series of seemingly random maneuvers. Her ships scattered in what looked like panic, drawing the enemy fleet into an elaborate pursuit. There, Krasik pointed. Watch what happens when the enemy commits to the chase. Amanda's scattered forces suddenly converged, but not on the enemy fleet. Instead, they targeted specific points in space, launching what appeared to be mining charges. She created an artificial debris field, Captain Mira realized, her spots now pulsing rapidly. The gravity distortions forced the enemy into a predictable evasion pattern, Krasik finished. A pattern she had already anticipated and prepared for. The same tactic that might have saved Proxima Station, conceived by a human child playing a video game. Strategic analyst Lark pulled up additional data streams. Admiral, we've analyzed 57 of her combat solutions. 39 of them contain tactical innovations unknown to our military database. The rest show optimization of existing strategies that our best commanders haven't achieved in centuries of warfare. And she's not alone, Officer Wren added, bringing up a new set of statistics. We've identified 7 other regular users of this simulation system who show similar innovative potential, all of them under the age of 18 Earth years. Admiral Krasik's inner eyelids flickered rapidly as he processed this information. Cross-referenced their tactics with our historical battle database. The computer hummed for a moment before displaying its results. The tactical overlap was unmistakable. These children were independently developing battle strategies that had taken alien civilizations generations to perfect. Sir, Captain Mira spoke up, her voice tight with concern. There's something else you need to see, she gestured to a subordinate, who brought up a new data set. We've been monitoring the evolution of these simulation programs. They're getting more sophisticated every month. The humans are crowdsourcing tactical innovation without even realizing it. Krasik studied the progression charts with growing unease. The simulation's difficulty scaling was exponential, yet these young humans were keeping pace, even excelling. Do you understand what we're witnessing? He asked the room at large. These humans have turned warfare into entertainment. They've gamified combat tactics to such a degree that their children are surpassing veteran commanders in their sleep. But surely they can't apply these skills to real combat, one of the junior analysts protested. It's just a game to them. Krasik's expression darkened. Tell me, when was the last time our forces ran a successful simulation against a human-designed AI? The room fell silent again. Because their gaming AI eyes are already better than our military-grade combat computers, he continued. These children aren't just playing games. They're participating in the most sophisticated military training program I've ever encountered. And the most terrifying part? They're doing it for fun. He turned to face his assembled officers, his scales now a darker shade of silver indicating his serious concern. Imagine what would happen if they ever decided to take it seriously. If they ever turned this gaming instinct toward actual warfare. Sir, Officer Wren interrupted, his voice unusually strained. You need to see this. Amanda Parker just started a new simulation scenario. The main display switched to a live feed from the gaming center. Amanda sat at her usual station, but something was different. The scenario loading on her screen made Krasik's blood run cold. That's one of our actual battle plans, Captain Mira gasped. A classified invasion scenario for their solar system. How did it get into their game? It didn't, Krasik replied quietly. She created it. She's independently conceptualized a defense against an invasion strategy she shouldn't even be able to imagine. The assembled aliens watched in horrified fascination as Amanda Parker, age 12, proceeded to systematically dismantle an invasion plan that had taken their best strategists decades to develop. And she was smiling while she did it. Admiral Krasik hadn't slept in 3 full cycles. His quarters aboard the Nightweaver lay untouched as he spent every waking moment in the tactical room, preparing for what might be the most important test of his military career. The infiltration was successful, Admiral Officer Wren reported, his purple skin almost pale with exhaustion. Our software engineers have integrated the combat scenarios into their game system. They'll appear as a special event challenge when the target logs in. Krasik nodded, studying the complex array of tactical displays before him and the security protocols. Completely undetected, sir. Their systems registered it as a routine gaming update. Even their military surveillance won't notice anything unusual. The Admiral allowed himself a small smile. Excellent. Now we wait. They didn't have to wait long. Amanda Parker arrived at the gaming center right on schedule, her backpack slung casually over one shoulder as she made her way to her usual simulator pod. Sir, Captain Mira called out, her bioluminescent spots flickering with nervous energy. Are you sure about this? These scenarios. They're from actual combat situations. Some of them resulted in total fleet losses. That's precisely why we need to do this, Krasik replied, his inner eyelids narrowing with concentration. I need to know if these results are reproducible under genuine combat conditions. The tactical room fell silent as Amanda logged into the system. A small alert popped up on her screen: special event, Deep Space Challenge, restricted access granted. She's taking the bait, Wren whispered. Amanda's face lit up with excitement as she clicked the accept button. The simulator hummed to life, presenting her with the first scenario, a notorious battle that had claimed 3 Galactic Council fleets before being deemed unwinnable. Beginning recording, Krasik announced. All analysts prepare for real-time assessment. The next 4 hours passed in a blur of tactical displays, combat maneuvers, and increasingly astonished alien observers. Amanda didn't just attempt the scenarios, she rewrote them. That's not possible, strategic analyst Lark muttered as Amanda completed her 3rd simulation. The Calaxian deadlock is designed to be a perfect trap. There's no mathematical solution. She's not trying to solve the math, Krasik replied, his voice filled with wonder. Look at how she's using the solar winds. She's turning an entire star into a propulsion system. As they watched, Amanda's fleet performed a slingshot maneuver around the system's sun, using the solar eruptions as both cover and propulsion. The maneuver scattered the enemy formation, creating gaps that shouldn't have existed in the perfect trap. Next scenario, Krasik ordered, his claws clicking against his command chair in excitement. The simulations grew progressively more difficult. Each one represented a historical battle that had shaped the galaxy's political landscape. Battles that had been analyzed for centuries by the finest military minds in known space. Amanda Parker took them apart like puzzle boxes. Sir, Captain Mira called out, her voice shaking slightly. She's approaching the final scenario. Krasik straightened in his chair. This was what he'd been waiting for. The last simulation wasn't historical, it was current. A real-time representation of the Nightweaver's actual tactical position above Earth, complete with its full combat capabilities. Now we'll see, he muttered, if she can truly understand modern warfare. Amanda stretched in her chair, took a sip from her water bottle, and dove into the final challenge. Her first move made Krasik's scales ripple with shock. She found our cloaking field, Wren gasped. But how? The energy signature is virtually undetectable. Look at the gravitational sensors, Lark pointed out. She's not scanning for our ship, she's looking for the space where nothing exists. Amanda's simulated fleet began an elaborate dance through Earth's orbit, using the planet's magnetic field to reveal the Night Weaver's position. But what she did next left the entire tactical room in stunned silence. Instead of attacking, she opened a communication channel. That wasn't even supposed to be an option in the simulation, Wren whispered. A text message appeared on the tactical display. Nice ship you've got there. Want to play two-player mode? Krasik stood up so quickly his command chair toppled backward. She knows we're here. Not just in the simulation, she knows we're watching her right now. Impossible, Captain Mira protested. Our security protocols mean nothing to someone who doesn't think like a warrior, Krasik interrupted. She approached this like a game designer looking for Easter eggs, not a soldier looking for an enemy. The Admiral walked up to the main tactical display, studying Amanda's smiling face in the surveillance feed. She was looking directly at the hidden camera drone, giving it a small wave. Sir Wren asked nervously, "What are your orders?" Krasik was quiet for a long moment. Then, to everyone's shock, he started laughing. It was a strange sound, like metal grinding against crystal, but it was undeniably genuine amusement. "Order our engineers to accept the connection request," he said finally. "Let's see how we fare against her in direct combat." "Admiral," Captain Mira exclaimed. "That would violate at least 7 security protocols." "Security protocols that a human child has already bypassed," Krasik pointed out. "Besides, I've spent 3 cycles studying her tactics. I want to see if I've learned anything." The tactical room erupted in controlled chaos as the engineers established a secure connection to Amanda's simulator. On her screen, a new message appeared: challenge accepted. Your move, Admiral. What followed was unlike any battle simulation in the history of the Galactic Council. Admiral Krasik, veteran of 300 years of warfare, found himself matched against a 12-year-old human who treated cosmic combat like an intricate dance. For every classical military maneuver he employed, she responded with something completely unexpected. When he used proven tactics, she created impossible counters. When he innovated, she adapted with frightening speed. After 2 hours of intense simulation combat, the final score flashed across both their screens: Amanda Parker 7, Admiral Krasik 2. "Well played, young warrior," Krasik typed into the chat window. Amanda's response was immediate: "Thanks. Your cloaking tech is super cool. But you might want to adjust your quantum variance. It's leaving a tiny ripple in the Van Allen belt." The Admiral turned to his stunned crew. "Send a priority message to High Command," he ordered. "Tell them we need to completely reassess our understanding of human capabilities." "And Amanda Parker?" Wren asked. Krasik looked back at the screen, where Amanda was already starting another simulation. "Keep watching. Something tells me we've only seen the beginning of what she's capable of." As if hearing his words, Amanda looked directly at the camera drone again and winked. The grand chamber of the Galactic High Command sparkled like a field of stars, its crystalline walls reflecting the bioluminescence of 24 of the most powerful military leaders in known space. Admiral Krasik stood at the center, his silver scales dulled by exhaustion, but his voice remained steady as he presented his findings. "Esteemed members of the High Command," he began, activating the chamber's holographic systems. "What I'm about to show you will change everything we thought we knew about humanity's potential." Supreme Commander Talix leaned forward, her serpentine form coiling tighter around her elevated platform. "These claims of yours are extraordinary, Admiral. You suggest that human children pose a greater tactical threat than their entire military." "Not exactly," Supreme Commander Krasik replied, bringing up the first set of tactical displays. "I'm suggesting that human children have unknowingly created a military training program more advanced than anything we've developed in 10,000 years. Murmurs rippled through the chamber as the tactical displays showed Amanda's solutions to historically devastating battles. Each scenario played out in perfect detail, showing how a 12-year-old human had casually rewritten military doctrine that had stood for centuries. "Impossible," General Nexus growled, his metallic appendages clicking in agitation. "These scenarios were designed to be unwinnable. Our best tactical AIs confirmed it." That's precisely the point, Krasik said, advancing to the next display. These children aren't bound by what we consider possible. They approach each challenge like a puzzle to be solved, not a battle to be won. He brought up the statistics from the Gaming Center's network. In the past year alone, human players have collectively spent over 50 million hours developing new tactical solutions. They're not just playing games, they're conducting the largest military training exercise in galactic history. But they're not soldiers, Admiral Zenthra pointed out, her crystalline form refracting light as she spoke. This is merely entertainment for them. And that's what makes them dangerous, Krasik countered. They have no fear of failure, no preconceptions about what should or shouldn't work. Every defeat is just an opportunity to try again, to find a better solution. He displayed the results of his personal combat simulations against Amanda. The chamber fell silent as they watched a veteran commander being systematically outmaneuvered by a human child. This girl, Supreme Commander Talix said slowly, she defeated you 5 times in succession. 7 times, Krasik corrected. And then she gave me tactical advice about improving our cloaking technology. General Nexus surged forward. She detected our cloaking systems? That's a direct security breach. We should move to contain this threat immediately. Contain, Krasik laughed, the sound echoing off the crystalline walls. How do you propose we contain a species that turns warfare into a child's playground? A species that has accidentally created the most sophisticated combat training system we've ever encountered. He brought up the final set of data, the progression charts, showing the rapid evolution of human gaming technology. In the time we've spent observing them, they've developed 3 new combat doctrines that our tactical computers classified as theoretically impossible. They weren't trying to prove us wrong, they were just having fun. What are you suggesting? Admiral Supreme Commander Talix asked, her voice carrying a note of concern. I'm suggesting that we fundamentally reevaluate our approach to humanity, Krasik replied. We've been watching them, judging them by our standards, our limitations. But they don't share those limitations. They've turned our greatest weakness, our rigid, military thinking, into a game for their children. He paused, looking each member of the High Command in the eye before continuing. And they're teaching their next generation to think in ways we can barely comprehend. Every day, millions of human children are spending hours solving combat scenarios that our best commanders would consider hopeless. Surely you're not suggesting we abandon the expansion plans, General Nexus demanded. Our forces vastly outnumber theirs. Their actual military technology is centuries behind ours. Their technology, yes, Krasik agreed. But their minds, he brought up one final replay, Amanda's solution to the Calaxian deadlock. This child found a way to use a star as a weapon. Not because she needed to, not because she was trained to, but because she thought it would be fun to try. The chamber erupted in heated debate. Some commanders argued for immediate action, others for complete withdrawal from Earth's sector. Through it all, Supreme Commander Talix watched the replay of Amanda's simulations with an unreadable expression. Tell me, Admiral, she finally spoke, silencing the chamber. What do you think will happen when these children grow up? When they realize that the games they've mastered have real-world applications? Krasik had spent many sleepless cycles pondering that very question. I think, he said carefully, that we're witnessing the birth of something unprecedented. A species that has turned the art of warfare into entertainment, tactical innovation into a hobby. They're not just training warriors, Supreme Commander. They're raising entire generations to think in ways that make our most advanced battle computers look primitive. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. These weren't just games. They were glimpses of humanity's potential, wrapped in colorful graphics and achievement points. Back aboard the Nightweaver, Admiral Krasik reviewed the High Command's final orders with a mixture of relief and apprehension. The massive viewscreen before him showed Amanda Parker leaving the gaming center for what would be the last time under their observation. Send the withdrawal orders to all surveillance units, he commanded, his voice echoing through the tactical room. I want every drone recovered within the next solar rotation. Yes, Admiral Officer Wren acknowledged, though his purple skin showed hints of confusion. Sir, may I ask about the High Command's decision? Krasik turned to face his crew, noting the same question in all their expressions. The Galactic Council has designated Earth as a restricted zone. No military operations, no colonization attempts, no direct contact. Because of a human child's gaming skills, Captain Mira asked, her bioluminescent spots pulsing with curiosity. No, Krasik replied, activating the main tactical display. Because of what that child represents. The screen filled with data from their final week of observation. Amanda's last gaming sessions had been particularly revealing, not for her tactical prowess, but for something far more significant. Watch this, he commanded, playing the footage. Notice what happens when other players join her simulations. The recording showed Amanda teaching younger players, explaining complex maneuvers in simple terms, encouraging them to try new approaches. Her enthusiasm was infectious, drawing more players into increasingly complex scenarios. She's not just playing anymore, Krasik explained. She's creating a new generation of tactical thinkers, and she's not alone. He brought up a global map showing gaming centers worldwide. Thousands of points of light flickered across every continent, each representing a simulation pod where similar scenes were playing out. Supreme Commander Talix understood immediately. Krasik continued. We're not just facing a few gifted individuals. We're watching an entire species teach itself to outthink us, and they're doing it for entertainment. Lieutenant Petra's cybernetic eye whirred as she processed this information. But surely our technological advantage. It means nothing, Krasik interrupted. You saw how quickly Amanda adapted to our cloaking technology. She didn't just detect it, she improved it. Through a game interface. Imagine what she'll do with real ships once she's grown. The tactical room fell silent as the implications sank in. On the main screen, Amanda was showing a group of younger players how to execute a complex fleet maneuver she'd invented. The High Command's assessment is clear, Krasik stated. Any attempt to subjugate humanity would be catastrophic, not because of their current capabilities, but because of their potential. They would adapt, learn, and innovate faster than we could respond. And they would do it all while treating it like the greatest game ever played. He brought up one final recording, Amanda's message to him after their last simulation battle. The text glowed on the screen. Thanks for the awesome challenges, Admiral. Next time, bring more ships. It'll be fun. Fun, Krasik repeated, shaking his head in amazement. They're reshaping the fundamentals of cosmic warfare, and to them, it's just fun. Your orders, Sir Captain Mira asked quietly. Krasik looked out at Earth, the blue marble that had changed everything they thought they knew about combat evolution. We'll maintain a minimal observation post at the edge of their solar system. No interference, no contact. We'll watch, we'll learn, and most importantly, we'll stay out of their way. And Amanda Parker Wren inquired. We'll never know that she helped save her species from invasion, Krasik replied. Though I suspect she'll be quite surprised in a few years when she joins their space program and discovers how familiar some of their tactical systems feel. The Admiral typed one final message into the simulation network before ordering its deactivation. Thank you for the lessons, young warrior. Keep playing, keep teaching. The stars will be yours sooner than you think. As the Night Weaver prepared to break orbit, Krasik watched Amanda walking home, her backpack bouncing with each step, probably already planning tomorrow's gaming strategies. She paused for a moment, looking up at the sky with that familiar gleam of curiosity in her eyes. You know what the truly terrifying part is, Krasik said to his crew. Somewhere out there right now, another human child is logging into a gaming system for the first time. And the cycle begins again. He gave the order to engage the enhanced cloaking system improved using Amanda's suggestions. As Earth shrank behind them, Krasik couldn't help but smile. The Galactic Council had hoped to find signs of humanity's readiness for cosmic warfare. Instead, they'd discovered something far more profound, a species that had turned the most complex aspects of space combat into child's play. And that, he realized, made them the most formidable species of all.